What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of the Fatherhood Village podcast, the official home for proud fathers and mentors. I am Dale Holloway, hosting the show with Kev Hick. We appreciate you for tapping in. If it's your first time chilling with us, please like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified each time we drop a video. All right. So for this show, we're doing some movie reviews. All right. We want to do more of them, but we're gonna kick off with King Richard, right? It's only right that we talk about and break down this video, coming from the perspective of a father, more or less, and kind of his trials and tribulations, and pick up some of the things, some of the concepts that were kind of displayed throughout this movie. And if you haven't seen it, it will be a spoiler alert. So you might want to skip this one if you haven't seen it and you don't want the spoils of it. So before we get into it, like we always do, we're gonna bring in Kev Hick. Ask my brother how he doing. What's happening?
Man, I'm good, bro. What's up, man? Chilling.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Had my cousin visit us this
Vic,
last week, and so yeah,
Vic,
we
Vic
chilled.
came over.
No, my
Not
cousin
Vic.
Aisha. Shout out to my
Oh, okay,
cousin
okay.
Aisha.
I might have met
She
her at
passed through.
the barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had a great time with her, man. That was pretty much our second visitor here from the family in Alaska. So, it was interesting that she came during the treacherous winter season. So shout out to her.
She
You
tried
know
to
what I
freeze it
mean?
there.
She,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah. But we have fun, man. And now we getting ready for, the holidays. We're gonna really celebrate Kwanzaa this time around.
Okay.
The wife really pushing that, so we got a little event that we're hosting with some family, and not really family, but military family and friends that we're going to invite to a community center here on base that we're renting out. So
Okay.
just planning for that. But other than that, man, we doing well. We doing well. How about you?
Man, I'm chilling. No complaints on a work trip at the hotel. Just, sitting with my thoughts, being creative, trying to get some stuff done, trying to get next month's videos done for my YouTube channel, and, just working, man. Trying to make sure we
Good,
secure over here.
good. That's what's up. Securing the bag, man. Good to see it. Good to see it. But yeah. So you finally watched the video, Kev. I know you didn't completely finish it, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I
I got
said,
like
this
20
was
minutes
something.
left.
Okay, yeah, like I said, this was something I was excited to see. The anticipation was drawn. I
Mm.
think they hit the nail on the head. So, kind of going into it, unfolding it. What were some of the first things that you noticed right away with this movie that was like, oh, or hey, I didn't know that they started at such a young age, or hey, I didn't know this was a part of something that he did that kind of, as far as the origin story, how it, trajected into what it became ultimately as of right now. So what
Well,
what were some of those things that you picked up on, like, yo,
I,
that's surprising.
I feel like it surprised me that before they were born he had already planned this. That was surprising.
Right.
But what stood out to me, that didn't stand out to me as much. What stood out to me was the fact that he was such a loving and gentle father while he was pushing them as hard as he was pushing them.
Hmm.
We have this idea about fatherhood that if you're pushing your kid to be great, then there's this harshness that you have to adopt. Um, and while those kids were, doing a thing, they was working harder than any other kids around them, and they were learning, they were growing, they were being great. He never put down like love. He never put down their innocence. Like he always was aware of it, and what he was trying to do was protect their innocence while he was working them as hard as he was working them. And seeing like old clips of like the real Venus and Serena, and seeing those old interviews and stuff, you would assume that the dad is just pushing them hard. Like there's an assumption that there's this harsh terrain that they're having to travel across in his lack of emotion and his lack of awareness and his lack of warmth. But that's not the case. I was just so surprised and blown away at the amount of love that he gave them, and even when he was going through stuff, just not letting that be a thing that that they saw and they experienced, right? Like never complaining about that. I thought that was amazing, and I'm extremely proud of and you know in admiration and in awe of some of the things that he went through, that he didn't allow them to really share in that same pain. And while they might have witnessed a couple of things, he didn't make it their experience. He protected their youth, and he always made sure to tell them, have fun. It's about fun. Go out there,
Right.
have fun. So he taught them to be great, through the prism, or through the eyes of a child, instead of through the eyes of a child trying to pretend or copy an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah,
So I think that was his warmth was the most surprising thing to me in the whole movie.
absolutely. Yeah, and the amount of time, the dedication that he put into it, because he was still working a job. He had to pull in the money, so I believe he was on third shift. As soon as he got done working with the kids for hours on the tennis court, he was off to work. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So just putting the necessary energy and time in, remaining focused. And I think what really made things make sense was because they understood what they wanted. They had a sense of purpose. They understood this is the pathway that they wanted to take.
right.
You know what I'm saying? It was kind of internalized, and so it didn't seem as though he pushed them, or he forced them to do this. This was something they had a genuine love and interest and a passion for. So
Yeah.
that's what made everything come together so seamlessly to me, because sometimes our kids, they try things, or they enroll in certain programs, and halfway through they like either give up, or
Hmm.
the thrill is gone. They don't
Yeah.
feel as invested anymore. And it's like, man, and then you taking time out of your day to,
Yeah. Now
do
you
your part. So
now you gotta have the
it was
commitment talk.
right. So it was fun to see, like, yo, they're into it, so much that he had to meet them there. And
Yeah.
what I'm saying, they were both pushing each other. So as him as the mentor, the coach, the advisor, and speaking of advising, as you later saw, he became their manager. And
Hmm.
so we then saw how the media portrayed him a certain way, as kind of the
Right.
aggressor, with as far as pointing them in the direction that he wanted them to move, and
Right.
what he felt was necessary, which to a large degree is necessary.
Hmm.
Because how old were the sisters? They were like
Well,
seven, or I think they were above 10 years old, weren't they?
when they started doing interviews,
Yeah.
Venus was 14, I think, or
Okay.
13.
They were only a
She was
year
like,
apart.
yeah, she was like 13 or
Yeah.
14 when she was having that interview, and the guy was asking her about why she was so confident and things of that nature. And then when he started clowning
He
in interviews, it was about when she
he
was about
jumped down.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right. So
again, he
being there
yeah.
and speaking up, and not allowing anyone to bully them, or accost them with questions, and being over assertive with things and confusing them. And so that was good to see. Um, and kind of rewinding a little bit, I don't want to go, you know, haywire here with back and forth, but there was a time in Compton, because obviously that's where they grew up.
Hmm.
They went to the tennis court pretty much at a daily basis, right? And then the local gang members, they weren't gonna make it easy. They weren't gonna back down. They're not gonna just still steer clear, because
Hmm.
some father is doing something very important with his children. So we seen the confrontation there, the conflict, and then ultimately um, they jumped him.
Hmm.
A fighting scene occurred, and he swung, connected, and then it was a wrap. They had kind of jumped him.
Yeah.
Um, and then later, an attempted murder ensued, but he didn't get that far though. He
Nah,
he
he
was he
didn't
had
get
he had grabbed that thing out the
so
out
yeah.
the
So
car,
so
or at the
far,
house. Yeah,
I hate to say it, but that's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
yeah.
I
He
almost
was.
rewinded
Hey, I was ready for it,
if
because
I
in my
didn't have this.
mind, I'm thinking, oh, did he get away with something? Because spoiler alert. I know we already said it,
You
but
got to do it.
karma already came back for this guy.
Karma, yeah, and he witnessed karma firsthand.
Wow.
I feel like that was my favorite part of the movie, and
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say that because obviously there are two realities here, right there. There's so much nuance. I'm from the perspective of someone watching a father do everything he can to get his family out of this situation and to make sure that his girls can provide a better life for themselves. I'm extremely disturbed at gang members not respecting the boundaries of a father and his children playing, and not respecting the safety that he's trying to provide them at that time. Right?
Right.
It was just really disrespectful what they was doing and jumping on that man in front of his girls like that. So I wanted the worst for those guys. And I'm a person who I, I don't think vengeance is right, but sometimes vengeance is necessary. Like you gotta
You
get
feel
somebody
me?
up off you, and when you threaten somebody in front of their kids or threaten their kids, and that them gang members was threatening the babies, it wasn't even just messing with him. It was about the daughter, and so I was like, man, somebody got to kill him. Like
Yeah. It's got to go down.
I hate to feel that way, but that's how I feel about my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any threat will
Oh
be
yeah.
neutralized. With extreme prejudice. So when he rolled up to kill the guys because they had threatened to come over there and do all of this, and then those guys end up seeing some game. So they basically I rolled up on while he was approaching the guy to roll up on him. Somebody else beat him,
Yeah.
cut him off in the middle of the street with a car, with a drive by, and rolled up on the same dude that he was about to kill. So he
Yeah.
just turned he
Yeah.
just turned around like, "Oops, shit, let me get out of here."
Hey, hey, that was divine intervention right there. Like,
Right,
hey,
right. But I feel that because I feel like as a man, it's certain things that you don't do, and you can't mess with no man when he with his babies. Like that's just something that you can't do. And so I really respected that he was willing to go there
yeah,
about protecting his kids, but at the same time, I would have hoped he was more tactical than that. But he didn't even have to do it. So I was really excited that wasn't something that happened, and then we didn't hear
right.
about it, and we was gonna watch it through this movie. I'm glad that he had seen that, but didn't perform it himself, and
Mhm.
it didn't darken his heart because he needed all of his energy to be warm and happy go lucky and tell jokes and break the tension like he used to, and he needed everything he had to provide his girls the warmth and the shelter that they needed emotionally to also be great and be pushed. And so um,
Mhm.
I don't know. It was my favorite scene of the movie because I felt vindicated in watching that young brother see the karma. But then, if we're looking at gang violence, that's a whole nother terrible issue. So I have to watch that and
Yeah.
compartmentalize it.
So, like you said, I mean, a lot of times you can't really control the environment so much, and the mother wanted them to at least practice in different areas of the city and go to different courts and things of that nature because she knew of the risk. She knew of the threat. But like you said, I mean, and there's times where some things are out of your control, but as you alluded to and as you said, no one's gonna, just withdraw your manhood from you, especially with, your family being around your children. Um, so we gotta go to war. I mean, he gave them guys plenty of chances.
Yeah, and
He
he
took a
spoke to
hit
him
before.
respectfully. Yeah,
Yeah,
they beat him up 2 times. He spoke to him respectfully, but they offered to come by the house. Man, you ain't coming to my
right,
motherfucking house about my kids, man.
right,
Straight up, man. I
right.
guess I'm a gangbanger now because everybody got to
Uh,
die. You feel me? And
you know,
I don't think he had enough bullets. He only had that one glove gun, but you know what I'm saying. I know that
yeah,
1911 dude, but that's 7 bullets. You know what I'm saying? Maybe nine
yeah.
if you got a nine, but I'm just
Hmm.
glad that the instant karma was served. Even so, man, just the things that he had been through when he would tell stories. He say one time his dad told him to go give some money to a white man. He accidentally touched a white man, and he wasn't allowed to touch the white man back then. And so the white man ended up beating him. And he
And
looked
his
up and
and
he
his
saw his
dad
daddy.
jumped the hell off
Yeah,
and ran,
looked up and saw his dad running, and he felt unprotected, and he didn't ever want his girls to
bro.
look up and see him running. And I was just like, man, there was a couple of spots where I told you like I don't like to be emotionally,
That broke me, man. I'm like, oh
yeah,
hell, like I
but
would never, bro. Like you might as well, man, just kill me, bro. If I'm gonna leave my
yeah,
kids,
yeah, that's
I don't
different
give a
right
fuck
there.
what they going through.
So
I
when
don't
I
care what's on.
that
So
scene was just oh man, and like I said, I don't like to get emotional because I'm an empath, man. So I really be feeling everything that's being felt, man. And
yeah,
but as a father, man, I don't mind being connected to this experience because I just identify with it, and he's made for the most part the right decisions. What I like about the movie is that They call him King Richard. I don't know if that's his real name or if they just call him King because he thinks he runs shit, even though he don't run nothing. This man don't run nothing. He has no official power, but he's making all the decisions and don't give a
Yeah,
fuck what nobody think. And I just think that
yeah,
that's so crazy because it's so indicative of how powerful a person wants to be if they don't take shit. Right?
hmm,
This man is not willing to take shit by any means, in any form, on behalf of his daughters, and he don't want them taking nothing. And so he's making
yeah,
all these decisions, even unilaterally sometimes. And
yeah,
while he has no power, no resources, almost nothing, his rigidity and his belief gets him the respect and honor that is bestowed upon his daughters. So I thought that was pretty powerful too.
absolutely. And that's something else I wanted to bring up. Just how, like I said, when the unilateral effects happen, the second, third order of effects, I don't think he really, what I'm saying, kind of really digested that and processed that, how that would affect them later, or how much, because he wasn't necessarily empowering them fully, right? It
Right,
was pretty much to his discretion, as you kind of
right,
later saw right before you put a bookmark in it per
yeah.
se. But I started picking up on that, like, yeah, it's good to kind of initiate things and to hold their hand and walk them through that.
But at some
But
point,
you
you got to
gotta
trust
know,
them.
right? But then another nuance of this, he was empowering them as far as education, academics, school was at the core of all of this.
Hmm.
So he made that a strong point.
Hmm.
And with that information, and having that, being forthright with that, there was another scene later on in the movie where a Nike shoe deal was put on the table,
Hmm.
and I think they offered her like 2 million. And even though this was the '90s, even I'm thinking like, because she hasn't played her first official pro game yet, right? But
Hmm.
all the hype in the world is around her, and I started thinking, yeah, two seem a little short.
Right.
So, long story short, Reebok came into the picture. I believe they offered 14.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm wrong, those viewing, please comment and give the correct figure. But but during that time, they sat down with their agent. Agent is gung ho. Oh yeah, take this. Oh, this is it. You made it. We did it. And they're looking at the dad and the mother, and they like, talk to them, talk to Venus. So
Hmm.
Venus was looking through the contract and the, what I'm saying, the proposal, and I don't want it. No, I'm not taking it. And old buddy losing it, like their agent or whatever. So it goes to show how important the educational side of this thing
Absolutely.
is, and knowing your numbers and knowing how to read contracts, and understanding and knowing different concepts, knowing strategies, and knowing,
Hmm.
like I said, your value. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they made some comparisons to her contemporaries at the time, so she really knew, how to decipher and discern some things at that early age. So that's like, I picked up a lot on that. Like, bro, give your children the game as much
Right.
as you can, as early as you can,
Right.
even
And I
if they
think
don't completely understand it. Like, they need to hear these things often.
and I think the movie didn't get to show a lot. Excuse me. A lot of that education, right? A lot of that game giving, because the same thing happened earlier in the movie when they were getting their first sponsorship deal. Remember the sponsorship deal that he had described for the Copperhead or whatever the other girl's name was like a
Yeah,
$2 million deal just for beating up the juniors.
yeah,
And Venus was 63 and 0, had done what that girl did, and they just offered her $100,000 worth of equipment. He's like, if we didn't have equipment, you wouldn't even know who she was. We got equipment.
yeah,
You're not offering us nothing. So he passed on it, and they was like, "What are you doing?" It's like, bro, we know what you gave somebody else. Don't come over here with this mess with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't play with
yeah.
us. And I feel like,
Oh, when he was at the poolside or whatever,
yeah,
that point. Yeah,
the guy came showed up with the cigar, and he
yeah,
said, "Oh, I'm glad y'all left the hat. I'm glad y'all left the hoods." You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And he farted and walked out.
He
Yo,
did. That's
that
right.
was man. That was some N word shit, straight
Yeah,
up.
that was some
And
gangster shit right there.
But I just thought, man, you know what? You got to ask for what you're worth, and if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you. If you don't know what you're
Yeah.
worth, the world will tell you. And most of the time,
Hmm.
they will undercut you and sell you short of who you are and what
Absolutely.
you deserve. So
Hmm.
what I got from that and the whole movie was just, as a father, always ride for your children, believe in them more than they believe in themselves until they learn to believe in themselves. But don't take shit and don't take no for an answer.
Right.
You put the work in and you put the faith in yourself. Everything is possible. All things are possible. And so I feel like he was an exemplary father. I mean, he wasn't without his flaws. He
Yeah.
made unilateral decisions. He, you know,
And his
definitely,
wife was had to tell him straight up and be
yeah.
frank and candid with him.
His wife got in his ass a few times,
He
and
he tried to be reserved as possible through that, but you know,
I feel
it
like,
was all out of love. It's just like I said, it's hard to sometimes to present it properly, understand your children's point of view as much as your intent is golden. He had to take the foot off the gas a little bit, and like, all right, like, because he didn't want her in that tournament, and like she wanted that badly.
right,
So him trying to politic, what I'm saying, to line his chess pieces up the way he felt fit. Um, what's that ultimately gonna do for your daughter? Like I said, as
mm,
time progresses on and on and on. Because like I said, I've never seen kids that young with so much passion.
yeah,
Just to even be portrayed like that, I'm like, man, they ready to go. Like,
yeah,
you know, and that's another thing, her reaching uh that level of you know, I guess stature in the game. Like, where does her childhood kind of, what I'm saying? What's the status of that? Because kids still want to be kids, and I feel like they still kind of live, um, as the children, the fun side of that. But it like I said, they were being homeschooled, I believe,
yeah.
once they moved to Florida and all that. So
I guess
yeah,
that's one of those subjective things because what is childhood? Is learning four languages child? Is learning four languages childhood? Some would say no. Right?
yeah,
What
that
is
was
childhood? Is it
different too.
is
Yeah,
it is it talking? Is it straight A's and honors classes and I mean a lot of this stuff is about achievement and so you take them to Disneyland. That sounds like childhood
yeah,
to
he
me.
did that. Yeah.
But they was working their ass off just in multiple different areas, and
Hmm.
that's cool. Teachers on, like I said, I really felt how when children's services or the police and children's services showed up because that lady called him. He's like
You're from
spell
across the street.
civilization. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gonna check on the girls? Let's check on the girls. Girls spell
Right.
civilization, and you start going through all of the little competencies and things, and it was just like you
Hmm.
know sometimes the idea of a thing is a lot less valuable than the reality, right? And the idea of childhood, I get it, but the reality is you need to be groomed for success. You need to be groomed for uh, the resilience coming into adulthood, coming into life, and so those things take precedent over the idea of childhood. I think that you don't miss childhood. Um, because you have those years. If you live through those years, that was your childhood. You can provide your children with an entertaining childhood that lacks education, structure, love, warmth, you know, but that doesn't give them anything more than the next person's childhood. I think that it's important to provide balance and structure and prepare your children for whatever they face. So yes, while playing in the park and going to Disneyland might sound like childhood, childhood should also be full of challenges because they have to be able to take and receive and conquer challenges as adults. So challenge
Yes,
and
sir.
childhood is more than just playing and laughing and giggling and having fun. And so I like the fact that while he valued entertainment, he made their work fun. He made tennis, which was a game in and of itself, fun for them. They wasn't like, oh, we got to practice again. They really loved it. He did little things to make it more entertaining while they were there. Yeah, excuse me, excuse me. I'm coming down with another cold, but
Oh, you good?
he did everything he can to make every part of their experience fun. He
Mhm.
educated, even when he turned on Cinderella. He turned on Cinderella to
He
teach
has
them
something
about
behind that.
humility.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Hmm.
could have just yelled at them for an hour. Instead, he made them watch Cinderella, which they liked the movie. But now what are the lessons of this movie? Right. I
Hmm.
think childhood is that. Childhood is eclectic, an eclectic experience that prepares you for challenge.
True. True. Very, very, very good definition right there. Good analogy on that. And I don't want to, I guess, dismiss the fact that he brought his other children from another relationship, I believe another marriage,
Hmm.
into his current home with his current family, and they all enjoyed the journey, the pathway that he set forth for them. But um, I heard, I guess, from another source that one of one of those sisters, Serena and Venus's half sister, was shot in a drive-by.
Mm.
Um, like I said, I saw the movie about a month or so ago, but I don't I don't know if it was in the movie or not, or it was kind of insinuated. Not sure, but
I know she was killed in
that's tough.
2003. And it was the
Yeah, I
one that
forget what sister.
it was the older sister, the one that the gang member
Okay.
liked.
Oh,
So to what was her name? To it was the T name. You
yeah,
uh
I forget.
yeah. So is that was it was
It
older?
wasn't Tabitha or none of
No, it was the oldest sister.
Mm,
It was U's and T's and B's. I just don't remember what the name was.
yeah,
But her sister, yeah, she in real life she was killed in 2003 in Compton. Um, I don't know what she was doing there. At this point she's
yeah,
a manager and things of that nature. So I don't know what she was doing, but
yeah. Um, it was a point I was going to bring up. Um, and like you said, you pointed out his flaws, the things that he had to manage, or things that he mismanaged earlier in his life, things with his marriage. We seen the turmoil with that, and
yeah,
how they tried to make things work, and uh, patch things up for the sake of the children. Um, it's tough, man. But then him, like I said, him having that, um, those plans, those pages, a 70 some odd page book, or lack of thereof, explaining and detailing their pathway to success and ultimately greatness. Like, he's seen that, what I'm saying? He knew he had prospects, he knew he had prodigies, um, and just having that, uh, that progressive thinking, and was just like, all right, this is how this is going to play out. This is what we're going to work with when they reach this age. This is how we're going to break in the game like this. I'm going to get in contact with this person, and that person's going to lead me to this person. Like, to see that manifest, and to see that really take place, spoke to me.
hmm,
It really spoke to me, like how concerned, how much energy am I putting forth to my children's future, whether it
yeah,
been short term, long term.
yeah,
How deeply am I thinking about that? Am I writing it down? Like, we hear about us writing our own personal goals down, and where we see ourselves in X amount of years. Are we doing the same for our children? Is
that's
it
a good
vague? Is
point.
it detailed? Like, that spoke to
That's a
me.
good point. So as it pertains to that, like I haven't. I mean, I would love to start, but what I'm trying to do, my son's 7. What I'm trying to do is figure out what he naturally gravitates towards. Like, where I'm still trying to figure out what his primary and his secondary intelligence is, and
Mm,
what he is passionate about. On his own, right? Because you can have a passion for everything. I can tell my son, hey, you're gonna be the greatest basketball player of all time, but he has flat feet. He don't have my hops. I have
okay.
ridiculous, animalistic,
Yeah,
primate
you
type of.
bouncing.
He ain't
You got
got that.
real
He got
bounce.
flat feet. He's got flat feet. So that's
Hmm.
he's gonna jump like Clarence or somebody, or, on
Oh
10.
damn.
I mean, Clarence tall. He had to sit.
Gotta
He
shout out to
tall as
them
hell.
cats, man.
And I feel
Yeah.
like Clarence might even be 6'4" now. He be looking like he's 7 foot in all of his pictures, but he couldn't jump.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but Clarence is a lawyer. Clarence is doing well.
Yeah.
So it.
Absolutely.
But Clarence had to find out what worked for him, right? As far as not basketball, but just in life. And for me as a father,
Hmm.
I want to figure out how to push my son in the direction that he would naturally lead, so that his strengths are magnified and his weaknesses are minimized. And so it's not a particular sport for me, because I don't even know how athletic my kid is. I know he's got a damn good right and left hook, but I don't know if he's
Okay.
even gonna be a fighter. You know what I'm saying? But he
Hmm.
definitely throws a punch well. But I don't know if
Good.
that's
That
going to be
hey,
his thing.
need that.
Absolutely. So I'm just trying to. I want to map this thing out for my sons, but it can't be that specific for me, because I just want him to chase his dream. I don't give a fuck if he
Hmm.
makes a lot of money. I just want him to chase his dreams, man. I want him to love every day of his life. I want him to feel like he's not working. I want him to feel like he's thriving and not surviving, not being pulled
Absolutely.
into his days by obligation, but getting up with vigor and excitement and ferocity, trying to accomplish something. And we don't know what that is, but what I do, because I can't, create a plan, and it's not realistic for me to do it as King Richard did it. What I do try to do is make sure that I make as many teachable moments as possible. I make sure that I'm holding myself responsible and accountable. I make sure that when I need to tell my son I'm sorry, I do. I need to. I always try to acknowledge that Daddy's not perfect, and Daddy's not always right, and Daddy's trying to
Yeah.
figure some things out as well. But Daddy wants you to understand that no matter what, you know, sometimes even Daddy can be wrong, right? So if Daddy says something that you think is wrong about you, it can be wrong, right? Daddy is not without flaw, but that doesn't mean you're flawed because of Daddy's flaws. Like I always try to make sure that, whether it's the way I discipline him or what I push him towards, or anything, that it, his opinion and his belief system and his ego is as important as mine, right? And
Yeah.
while I have the right to express mine differently than he has the right to express his is still important. Um, and we just find the teachable moments in every day, about success, about trying, about failure. I encourage him to fail at something new. Try something. If you don't do well, so what? You try. You did your best. We don't quit. We
Right.
do our best, and the chips fall where they may after that. And I encourage him to have fun, to challenge himself, and not be afraid to fail. I think that I read a number of success books and manuals at this point. The most consistent thread that I've seen in success is the willingness to fail. And that's what I liked about King Richard.
Hmm.
He always told him to go out and have fun. He didn't care about winning. Hell, they came back and won the trophies and was bragging and talking about they won this and won that. He was like, hey, we don't give a
Yeah,
damn
he
about
ain't
that.
like that.
No, people did their best and they had fun and they did their best. Let's focus on that. You go out there and have fun. You do your best. If you win, that's great. We want to win. That's awesome. But that's not what it's about. It's about going out there, having fun, and doing your best, and being a kid. And
Hmm.
for my son, when I do pressure him to be great, or to try hard, or to succeed at anything, I've always tried to pull it back to, hey, listen, it's about trying. It's about doing your best. It's not about succeeding. You won't always succeed, but you can always try,
Hmm.
right? And that's kind of where I am with him, as far as his success or his pathway right now, because he's 7. I just need him to
Yeah.
learn how to accept himself, and accept loss, and accept disappointment, and be resilient to the disappointment that stops so many people. Because in adulthood, nobody stops, nobody pats you on the back, nobody picks you up. When you quit something, you just quit it. And most of us aren't groomed enough for disappointment. So when we try a business and the business fails, we go back to work and we never try again. And we work for 40 years because we're too afraid to fail at another business. Most of us
Hmm.
don't want to embarrass ourselves, so we don't follow our dreams or open our mouths or speak up for ourselves, because we don't want to be embarrassed. We're so
Yeah.
afraid of disappointment, of failure, that our adult experience most of the time isn't what we would have hoped or dreamed.
Oh, you still there?
Hello?
Yeah, yeah, we're here.
I think I'm on the show.
Temporarily lost you.
Um,
Yeah.
isn't what we would have hoped or dreamed. What did they show?
Yeah, we here. We got you.
We're gonna have to cut this. Jump back in, bro.
You can't see me? Um,
we gonna have to cut this. Don't worry.
we good. You
All
were
right,
there the
all
whole
right,
time. Can you
all
see
right.
me?
Yeah, but I lost you. Ashley called me
Okay.
and it threw my whole thing off. All right,
Oh, okay.
we'll cut this little
We
section
straight.
and we'll jump in. Um, but our adult experience isn't what we hoped or dreamed. We have learned to give up, learned to avoid disappointment in adulthood, but that's because we were not groomed for the disappointment. We were not groomed for the challenge. We were not groomed to rebuild ourselves and reconstruct ourselves every time we being challenged as adults, as children. And I think that what he gave them were the tools to succeed at anything because it
Hmm.
was about doing your best, and that's the tool that I've always tried to give my son, is the tool that your effort and your commitment to the result is what's important. But the result itself, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. You can't worry about the result, but you can worry about your effort, and that's what you owe yourself, is the effort. And
Yeah.
I think that's a valuable lesson, man. And I really respect that brother. I was happy to hear his story.
Hmm.
uh, I'm excited to finish the movie. I just didn't have time to finish the movie. I was watching it up until we damn near about started this podcast. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to actually, jump back off air and finish that movie before I go to sleep. It was an amazing movie, man.
Yeah. Nah, you brought up key points, man. Very valid. Um, vital information, and that's another thing I got to stay on top of my son. Um, because no one wants to fail. No one wants to come up short. And sometimes he sees him not accomplishing something in his mind, and it happening in the physical realm is just as the way he thought of it. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
he gives up at times, and like I said, it's us to understand how to communicate, understand how to deliver and motivate them, and kind of ask, hey, um, what did you try? you know what did you want to do? What's your idea of success? Why do you want to accomplish this? What's it going to do for you?
Mm-hmm.
And embarrassment, you know
Yeah.
because a lot of times in society we see the glitz and glamour. We see how things happen for other people, and we think just because, you know perception is reality, right? So a lot of times we see it, we think it's their first time accomplishing this goal, um, reaching this prominent status. We don't see what happened behind the scenes.
Right.
We don't see the missteps. We don't see, the agony and the pain that goes along with it. So long as we
Absolutely.
keeping things realistic and letting them know, like, hey, the things you see on magazine, TV, media as a whole, that's not the whole story. And a lot of people, what I'm saying, they
Mm-hmm.
disguise things, or they show what they want you to see. um
Absolutely.
just for a fairy tale or a fantasy. We don't live in fantasy world. you know
Absolutely.
it's not always gonna pan out the way we hope for, the way we see other people, their end result, their outcome. It's not about what they did, it's about what we're gonna do,
Right.
um, and how we get there. So
I
even though I might not write a 70-page book,
Right.
it gave me a lot of insight,
I did.
introspecting into my strategy as a father,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, gaining the forethought that I need, because they're gonna have, times that they stumble, they need that guidance. And like you said, we may not know what their purpose is right away, and
Mm-hmm.
they may not know when we see it. They may not notice,
Mm-hmm.
that this is, something that they're great at, that they have a huge talent with. But like I said, that's where the connection happens, is
Mm-hmm.
us seeing something before they see it,
Right.
and just driving it home, and how much, like I said, those challenges that they overcome, um, just kind of how they articulate, um, the way forward with that. So
But
excellent movie, man.
you got to be
Excellent movie.
vigilant and you got to be present to catch it.
Yep.
Like that moment that you see, oh, that's their gift. You got to be there. You got to be present. And a lot of men aren't
Hmm.
present. We're just providing, right? And I'm telling you, there's
Yeah.
a difference, man. If you got to do one or the other, man. Hell, I think a homeless man with a daddy that's present it can end up better than a daddy that provides that's an absentee emotionally and intellectually
Yes,
sometimes.
sir.
Not that a father should ever have his family in a homeless position, but your
Hmm.
attention is as valuable as your dollar. Um, I think that to your point, trying to figure out where our kids can be great, um, and just and pushing them in a way that they don't feel pressure, they just feel support. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes support uh, can feel like assistance. It can feel like you cheerleading. It can feel like you cheering them on. It can feel like you know, laughing with them. It doesn't have to feel like a whip in their backs. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like there's a different
Yeah.
methodology for every scenario. Sometimes your kid needs a swift kick in the ass, but sometimes your kid just needs to be cheered on.
Yeah.
Sometimes your
And
kid needs to just be listened to, right?
right.
So support takes many forms, and the liquidity of your communication style and the ability that you have to switch up how you deliver your messages and how you deliver your support or your guidance is going to be key to making sure that, you know, despite the situation, your child hears your voice and stops and doesn't start to tune it out because it becomes an adversarial piece of their psyche, which it happens a lot of times with dads who push and push and push
Yeah.
without the
You got to know
awareness
when to
that,
let off.
yeah,
Right.
you got to know how to switch leadership styles when it's appropriate. And like I
Because
said,
sometimes, not to cut you off, but just
yeah,
to add this little piece, sometimes they're so hard on themselves, and the last thing they want you to do is continue to, you know what I'm saying, whip them
hmm,
in the back, as you would say. So it's
yeah,
a lot of, you know, some things that they're inflicting on themselves, and they just need a pick me up in a way.
yeah,
And it's our job to know what that looks like, you know, what that's supposed to be. So
yeah.
yeah.
We've been here longer. We're supposed to have the wisdom. We're supposed to have the experience. You know, that's when you know your years of life supposed to count for something. When you know you have a decision, change directions, change speed, change pressure. You know, you're supposed to have that awareness at this point. You know, or be developing it. And you know, the kid doesn't know what's best for them. They just know what they want to do. And
Mhm.
so you need to be versatile. You need to be like water. You know what I'm saying? And I think if we can capture that and capture the liquidity of a relationship between a father and child, you know, as far as your adjustability, your malleability, you know, your way to find a way into their mind to give them what they need when they need it. I think that, you know,
Yeah.
and infiltrate, like be like water. Water always finds a path of least resistance. It always
Mhm.
finds a way in. You can't keep water out for long, no matter how airtight a thing is. Water will find its way in. And I think
Mhm.
that having that understanding and realizing that there's always a way to reach your child is really important, and not giving up on that. We don't want our children to give up on their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, the things they're attempting, the things they're trying. We shouldn't give up on trying to find a way inside of their mind and give them what they need in a positive way. A lot of
Yeah.
times a father just throws his hands up because he doesn't feel like he's being listened to. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Fatherhood is tough, it's rough, it's hard, and kids do not listen.
Every day.
Right. And so there's always a way. And one of our jobs is trying to find a way and not giving up until we found a way to connect to our children. But that takes an awareness and that takes a responsibility on us. And it takes again, the malleability. We can't be so rigid in one form of communication over another, one style of parenting over another. You
Hmm.
know, it has to be, we have to be liquid because they're not wise enough. They haven't been here long enough to be liquid. We have to be
Yeah.
water, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent piece that you added. And not to keep things too long, but that's something I picked up with hearing from his wife.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times she felt that she was overlooked, and what
Right.
she contributed to their success early on, and the things
Right.
that she did, her sacrifices, she felt that the credit wasn't evenly distributed. So, and I get it, like, and I had to, you know, check myself when it comes to, you know, my wife. And I'm like, you know, it got to be, if you have a spouse or you have someone, you know, that's around your child as well, those that's co-parenting, things like that, it has to be a partnership with a lot of things that happen with that child. So,
Yes.
and give respect and credit where it's due. You know,
Absolutely.
don't try to take, all the credit because it takes a village, man.
Yeah,
For for them to reach these high attainable goals, they need a village, man. It's gonna take more than you, man. You have to
absolutely,
understand that. You have to welcome the help, you know.
absolutely.
So yeah,
So he had his flaws, but he had the right flaws that got his family as far as it could go. So I take those flaws in his methodology, in his non-abusive method of handling pretty much
yeah.
everybody
He
for the most
wasn't a
part.
Joe Jackson with it, so
Nah, he really just was flawed in a way that affected more so him, tortured more
mhm.
so him than anyone else. And once he learned how to trust the process that he had put in place, I think to the point of the wife, it's like she had to get him to adjust because his rigidity was starting to the same rigidity that got them there was about to ruin it. And so she had
Mhm.
to talk him out of some of that. Listen, you did your job, you can let go now. Let them. This is their time now. It's about them now. You know, it's your plan. It's done. The job is done. Let them figure this out. Let's support them from their back now. I think
Yeah,
that again, being like water, being liquid. Being able to change and being change shapes and change forms and kind of mutate the process for yourself a little bit. He was able to make that adjustment and start listening to other people who knew more and better than he did.
yeah,
But because he really made that shit up out of his mind. He watched some TV and looked at some magazines and created a plan. But in real world, that doesn't always work like that. You have to be able to adjust and grow and evolve with the times. And he found himself being very rigid, and it was starting to get in the way. And so
mhm.
I respect that he finally let go of that. And his wife was just so powerful. And so God, she
Man.
was so powerful, bro. He thought that he kept calling it his plan. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Like, have you met your wife? Because if I'm watching
yeah,
this movie, I'm like, yo, bro, that woman behind you. That's why you can do what you're doing, bro. That woman
yeah.
behind you got everything moving. Cause you ain't did nothing
Absolutely.
without that
Shout
woman
out
behind
to
you.
their mother, man.
Yeah, that
You
mom.
know what I
She don't
mean?
get no credit even now. Like the movie's called King Richard, but I don't even know what her name is. But bro, she deserved a movie too, straight up. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because she did her
Right.
thing. They had just great parents, wonderful, dedicated parents who did what it took.
Right. Shout out to all the strong, dependable, valuable mothers out there, man.
Hmm.
We need them too, as much as we focus on fatherhood here. Is very imperative that mother is just as present, and it's a cooperative thing, man. So it's all about these kids.
Hmm.
It's about the children. So, but yeah, man, let's wrap this thing up. What rating would you give? I know you still got a little bit to check out on the movie as of right
So
now.
so far,
5 stars. What being the best? What would you give?
for a biography, I'm thinking it's a 5 star, and I say that because
Nice.
I don't like shit that's too sad, and so I like that. I know it's a happy ending. I know that those two girls dominated the tennis world, and Serena still dominates the tennis world. She's the most accomplished female athlete ever, I believe, to date.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. True.
because I know it's a happy ending, and there were not too many super tragic moments in the movie that I was like, oh my god, like it was some stuff happened, but it wasn't menace to society tough. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was good. It was the right amount of emotion and winning and fatherhood. It was a good mix. It was balanced. And Will Smith is the greatest actor of our generation, to be honest. So you know
Hmm.
what else wasn't to like? I got to give it 5 stars.
Yeah. Him and Denzel, they like here with me,
Yeah,
but
but Denzel wasn't the Fresh Prince. So hey,
oh wow, okay.
yeah, like we go if we I'm talking about my
You gonna
generation.
go
I,
there
we
with it?
we we've grown up watching Will Smith. Will Smith was everybody's
That's
big brother,
facts.
big cousin. Denzel always felt like he was gonna bang one of
That
our moms or something. So
ah right.
can't give these. I was a little bit irritated with Denzel because everybody's mama wanted him, and that shit felt weird. It's like, all right, he ain't my uncle. You know how that goes.
Hey,
Uh,
Uncle
so
Denzel.
yeah. I didn't grow up
He really
liking
going
Denzel
for
as a
it.
little kid because I knew the lust that all the women in the family had for Denzel. So, but Will Smith, he felt like a cousin or a brother or something like that because he was older, but he wasn't so much older that our moms was after him. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, true, true. Hey, I had to side with you, man. 5 stars. I tried to. I didn't want to be a super tough critique because as a father, you're not really looking at other things that distract you from the real principles, the concepts, the real note taking, as a father, mental note taking. So it was a 5 star. I plan on watching it again.
Right.
Um, Will Smith did his thing with this, and it made me want to find out more about his story that the movie couldn't capture. Like it's a 2 hour film, so it's only so much you can put in there.
Right.
Um, and like I said, the rest is history. So a lot of what people don't know is, the humble beginnings and how that train got started. So,
I, I
um,
I'd like to say that my 5 star rating does come from the fact that the movie was performed very well. Those young actresses showed
oh
up,
yeah,
showed their asses, and did their thing. Will Smith did Will Smith, which was
yeah,
amazing because he had to talk with a lisp and talk with a southern drawl, which is difficult to do. And
yeah,
he showed his ass in that movie like he does all the time. The supporting cast, the
yeah,
wife, um, everybody did. Everybody was a good actor. And if I had to
phenomenal.
critique anything, everything I could have thought to critique was the story, but the story was based on a true story. So
Yes,
I can't critique the reality of the story. It is what it is. It
and it
happened
was
the way it
signed
happened.
off by the sisters, so
Right. I
the
can't
executive
critique.
producers.
Well, my issue would be because if you're watching a movie, you think he should have did this, right? I would have wrote into the script, and then he punched this motherfucker right in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
I would have wrote, and then that gang member
It'd
got
have-
ran over by a car. Like,
yeah, he'd have fabricated some
yeah.
things, but
So
yeah,
when I'm looking at the story, the things that really happened that were in the movie, I wanted them to happen differently, but that's not the story. So if we're
yeah,
being true to the story, my critiques would only be he should have hit that dude harder with the tennis racket, or you know what I'm saying. But it wasn't.
yeah,
That wasn't the story. That was what happened in real life, and so I'm glad they made it out of those
right,
situations. I'm glad those girls were safe. I'm glad that they haven't lost anyone, or at least didn't lose anyone for quite some time. And then, after many years, their sister got killed. But the
yeah,
story performance and the movie performance and the directing and the cast did a very good job. So that 5 star rating is about the
absolutely,
performance.
absolutely. Yeah, that made everything stick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's gonna put you in your feels, some more than others, but very captivating film, man. Like I said, I learned a lot from it. Yeah, definitely one of my top films. So,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, we're gonna check out, man. We appreciate everybody for tapping in once again for this episode of the Fatherhood Village. Check out more of our videos. Like I said, we're trying to stack more content on this channel. Check us out on IG, Twitter, and again, if you haven't liked, subscribe, do that now. Hit that bell, and we'll be back with more real soon. All right. So, without further ado, I'm Dale Holloway. That's Kev Hick. Peace and love.
Peace and love.